Well, good evening, my friends. Chad doing here. Fifth quarter as the Blazers take another loss to open up the stretch run. Going into the game tonight, the Blazers had 28 games remaining on the schedule. 15 of those were at home, including tonight's game against the Denver Nuggets. 127-112 is the final as the Nuggets get the victory. And with the win, the Nuggets improved to 38-19. They are right there challenging Minnesota and Oklahoma City for the top spot in the Western Conference. And that race in the West is going to be a lot of fun to watch over the next 7 weeks as we get in a position to start looking at the playoff standings. The Blazers with the loss fall to 15-40. Along with Mike Oakes, Chad doing here, going to break this down tonight. We'll hear from Chauncey Billups coming up a little bit later in the program in the Coach's Corner. And we'll continue to take a look ahead at the goals and what this team's trying to accomplish over the final 7.5 weeks. Unfortunately, with the guys who are in and out of the lineup, it's like in, out. I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. No continuity whatsoever. And so I feel bad for Chauncey and his staff and for the rest of the guys on the floor because it's the one thing that's been lacking throughout the entire season. No continuity. How can you grow and develop when you've got different guys on the floor every single night? And, of course, we got word yesterday that Scoot Henderson would not play tonight with the adductor strain. And that just stinks to high heaven because I want to watch him play. His development is one of the most critical parts of this rebuild. I like him. He's fun to watch, and he's really shown flashes over the last few weeks of what we all thought he was going to become when Portland selected him in the draft. Most importantly, though, for these young guys who are getting a chance to play, this is what an opportunity to get on the floor, to have a chance to play, and to grow and develop. And for a team right now that's not in the playoff race, those minutes that you get on the floor right now to play and run the offense and be out there with your teammates and continue to learn the game as a rookie, it's valuable. And unfortunately for Scoot, he's not there. Unfortunately for Shaedon Sharpe, he had the core surgery. He's missed a large chunk of the season. And for the vets who have been there, guys like Ayton, Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, they're playing with different guys every night, so it's just hard for them to get into a rhythm or a flow because of the lack of continuity. So it's very frustrating. But, this was crossing my mind tonight when I was watching this basketball game. I've been watching a lot of NBA hardwood classics lately. They've been showing a lot of those games on NBA TV. I also like to go to YouTube and watch old basketball games. I enjoy the era in which I grew up. The 80s, the 90s, I'll go back and watch Shaq and Kobe games or Kobe games from the 2000s. I was fortunate to grow up in the era where I got Magic and Bird, into Michael Jordan, into Shaq, into Kobe, into LeBron. So I've seen all these great players play. So I'm always anxious to see who the new crop of guys are going to be. The new great players who are going to be a part of this generation, this era. And I got to tell you what, Nikola Jokic is unbelievable. And I'm watching him tonight, and I've watched him throughout the season because last year I knew Denver was a good basketball team, and I really respected their coach, Michael Malone. I'm also a big Rick Adelman fan. His son, David Adelman's on staff in Denver with Coach Malone. So I take interest in the Nuggets. I used to live in Denver. I'm not a Nuggets fan, but I'm always paying attention to what they've got going on. But I didn't buy into them being able to have enough to get over the hump and win a championship. I didn't think they could do enough defensively. I thought they were too limited with just Jokic, and I was wrong. They went straight to the playoffs. They dominated the finals, and they got a championship. And as I watched them when the year began this time around, I just realized, this is a darn good basketball team. And until further notice, they're going to come out of the West, barring some type of catastrophic injury. They'll be back in the finals, and they've got a great chance to repeat. But the main reason why is Nikola Jokic. And with these hardwood classic games that I've been watching, I've had a chance to refresh my memory with some of the great centers of the past. David Robinson being one. Obviously, Hakeem Olajuwon, who was amazing. His Rocket teams in the mid-'90s won back-to-back championships. Robert Parrish, who was part of the greatest front court of all time with Larry Bird and Kevin McHale in Boston. Great player. Shaquille O'Neal, for obvious reasons. Big, powerful, and dominant. And so I'm watching all of those bigs, and they were all terrific. Kareem, Shaq, Parrish, Hakeem, all great players. But they were your traditional back to the basket centers. Limited to a degree because they're not going to come out away from the basket and defend. They're not going to have to get out and cover the 3-point line. It was a different game back then. And everything went inside out. That's the way the game was played. It was all built around the big guy in the middle, your center. And teams wanted that low post inside presence. So those guys were great. But I'm watching Nikola Jokic, and I've just never seen a player like him at that size. He's as big as those guys I just mentioned, Kareem. No one's as big as Shaq, Robert Parrish, Hakeem. He's a traditional center in terms of size, but then you look at the skill set. How many times did that guy bring the ball up the court like a point guard tonight? He is out there on top, handling the rock like a guard and facilitating the offense. And then I started trying to think, like, who does he remind me of? And I think Travis was talking about his peripheral vision in the postgame show tonight. His vision, the only guy I've seen play the game that reminds me of Jokic in terms of his vision, you're talking Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, two of the greatest passers of all time who had incredible court vision and just ridiculous IQ on the floor. And that's Jokic. But his advantage is, at that size, to be able to handle the rock out on top, facilitate the offense, have vision like a guard, set up his teammates. He can shoot the three. He can also be a traditional center and back you down into the post and be able to turn and score. I'm just thoroughly impressed with Jokic. And then the problem is you want to hate on the guy because he plays on a rival team in the Nuggets, but he's likable. He's got a carefree attitude. He's not addicted to being an NBA superstar, or so he says. He's a different type of cat, and he's a European basketball player. So he's different. He sounds different. He acts a little goofy. He doesn't look the part because he's not chiseled from stone. He's kind of got that doughboy appearance. But in terms of absolute play, just his court awareness, his passing ability, the vision, the way he can score at all three levels, there's nothing he can't do. And so I just walk away from this game tonight thoroughly impressed with Nikola Jokic. Blown away. Absolutely blown away with what he can do on the floor. And tonight, Jokic was terrific. His 17th double-double on the season. Just dominating the Portland Trailblazers once again. 29 points on 12 of 17 shooting, 1 of 3 from downtown, 4 of 5 at the foul line. 29 points, 15 rebounds, and 14 assists. And he became the 4th player last night to record a double-double against every team in the NBA throughout the course of his career. That's impressive. 2 of the other guys on that list are Russell Westbrook and LeBron James. So that's my takeaway from tonight. Jokic is a sensational basketball player, and he's one of the all-time greats. And he's one of those guys we'll talk about for quite some time because he's unique. We haven't seen someone do it the way that he does it. Not at that size. Larry Bird was 6'9", could handle the rock. He'd bring the ball up the floor sometimes. A lot of times they put him at the high post, and he would facilitate the offense because he had such great vision and was a terrific passer. But Jokic is much bigger. And he's really a difficult cover for guys. What do? I think Curtis Long said it. You're going to put DeAndre Ayton out there and say, hey, go pick up Jokic at half court and get a traditional big like that away from the basket that far? I don't think that's a good idea. It's such a tough cover. So props to the Nuggets. They discovered him, and he's developed into one of the all-time greats. And right now is the best player on the planet. And it's hard for us to understand that or admit it because he doesn't look like that. He doesn't look like the traditional superstar. MJ was lean and chiseled, and he could fly through the air. Magic Johnson was a wizard with the rock, had great quickness, and was 6'9", and could handle the ball at that size. He could also play center, which he did as a rookie in the finals, and helped the Lakers win a championship. Magic was unique, but he wasn't that big. So I'm blown away. Blown away. And when Jokic is out there annihilating fools, it's annoying because he looks like he's in slow motion. So props to him. I'm impressed. And much like Nick Saban or some other greats, I've just learned to tip my cap and appreciate him. I don't hate on Jokic anymore. I don't have a problem with him. I just admire his game because he's that good. And my frustration for the Trailblazers really comes from the standpoint that I want the guys, the young guys, during this time to have a chance to play. And you've got Shaden Sharp, who's out with the core surgery, and of course, Scoot Henderson unable to go tonight because of the adductor strain. And for the Blazers, they hung in there for a while. But the problem is when you put this roster on the floor against what the Nuggets are showcasing tonight, they just don't have enough talent to match up. They got 34 from Michael Porter Jr., who was 5 of 10 from downtown, 29 points and a triple-double from Jokic, and Colin Gillespie with 18 points off the bench. And the Nuggets tonight shot 58%. They were 39% from downtown, and Jokic just rode the wave. So keep an eye on the Nuggets. I think what we're going to see with Denver, now that they're in the stretch run, they'll start to crank up the intensity. Michael Malone, my guess will be more aggressive in his coaching. He'll call guys out when they don't perform the way he wants them to. He'll start fine-tuning them for the playoffs, knowing that it's go time. And for contenders, this is the time of year where they start to crank it up. They pace themselves, all-star break, and then the stretch run hits, and they start to crank it up a little bit. So that's something to keep an eye on. All right, we'll come back, and I will recap kind of how the game went down tonight, and we'll focus in on your Portland Trail Blazers. I've got a scoreboard report, and if you want to jump on board, I'll get to your phone calls as well. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I'll get to your calls next. Shauna Damascus wants to chat, as does my man Joe in Buffalo, our East Coast representative in Rip City. 503-248-0620. Final score tonight, the Denver Nuggets make it 3 straight on the season against Portland. 127-112 is the final. Portland's back at it on Sunday. The Charlotte Hornets will be in town. Tip-off at 6 here on 620 Rip City Radio.
DeAndre Ayton in the center court circle for the Blazers at 7 foot 247. He will jump it up against Nikola Jokic at 7 foot 284.
And the All-Star break is officially over.
Good. It's time to play some basketball. The Blazers win the opening tip, and Anthony Simons will walk it up. Here's a lob to Ayton. He's tipped and throws the ball to the corner, out to Grant, who puts up a wing three-pointer and buries it. Good start on the first possession of the game for the Blazers.
All right, checking an NBA scoreboard for you tonight. In Atlanta, the Raptors top the Hawks 123-121. Scotty Barnes, 20 points and 10 assists. In the loss, Dejounte Murray, 24 points, 10 boards, and 7 assists. In Philadelphia, the Sixers hammer the Cavs 104-97. Tyrese Maxey, 24 points and 7 rebounds. In Houston, the Rockets 114, the Suns 110. Phoenix falls to 33-24. The Clippers going to Memphis atop the Grizzlies 101-95. Kawhi Leonard, 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals. The Thunder ripped the Wizards 147-106. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists. The Thunder now 39-17 on the year. In New Orleans, the Heat over the Pelicans 106-95. Jimmy Butler with 23 points, 9 boards, and 6 assists. In Minnesota, the Bucks over the Timberwolves 112-107. Giannis, 33 points and 13 boards. Anthony Edwards with 28 points in the loss. In San Francisco, the Warriors topped the Hornets 97-84. The Nuggets over the Trailblazers at Moda Center 127-112. Jokic, a triple-double, 29 points, 15 boards, 14 assists, his 17th triple-double on the season. And in Los Angeles, the Lakers over the Spurs 123-118. LeBron back after missing last night's game against the Warriors with a sprained ankle. 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists. The Lakers now 30-27 on the season. And that is your scoreboard report here on the 5th quarter. All right, telephone number is 503-248-0620. I'll tell you one player I've been impressed with since the Blazers got him at the deadline from the Boston Celtics is Delano Banton. I just appreciate a guy who comes in, doesn't know the team, doesn't know the offense, doesn't really know his teammates, and he's come in and played extremely well. He had 14 points tonight on 5 of 9 shooting, 1 of 3 from downtown. But what I like about him, one, is his length and size. A physical player for someone as lanky as he is, but he's also got a knack for getting to the free throw line. Aggressive and not afraid to put the ball on the floor and attack the rim. And we've seen that on a consistent basis, since he's arrived in town. So I give him props. I've had fun watching some of these guys that I'm not too familiar with this year. Duop Reef being one of those who played so well that he earned a multi-year deal from the Trailblazers. Delano Banton, another one who came in from Boston and has done a heck of a job. As the Blazers take the loss 127-112 tonight. Just too much Nikola Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. and really not much Portland could do shorthanded against the defending champs. Let's go out to Damascus. Sean is with us. Sean, welcome to the 5th quarter. You're up. What's on your mind?
Hey, Chad. How are you?
I'm very well, buddy. Nice to hear your voice.
Nice to hear yours. I've been listening a bunch. I've been meaning to call, and then we had our little blackout session again, and then we've had no real basketball here for a little while, as you know. Sunday was a joke.
That's true. Yeah, the All-Star game does not classify as real basketball right now, that's for sure.
I know you watched a lot of it. I turned it on for a few minutes, and I said, I can't watch this. This is horrible.
Yeah.
I remember watching games from probably 75 NBA All-Star games where the guys were playing like it was like a playoff game. It was incredible.
Yeah, I just watched
the guys nowadays that.
Yeah, I rewatched the 87 All-Star game that was up in Seattle last night. Tom Chambers won MVP, but I mean, from start until finish, guys were challenging one another. There was defense being played, and then as the game went along, it got even more competitive, and they really started to try and lock down in the 4th quarter. So that's the way I want it to be done. That's what I grew up with, and I wish the guys in today's game would understand that if you go out and compete and you play with a certain purpose, especially on defense, the fans are going to appreciate that type of effort. So hopefully someone will be able to get through to them so they can rediscover that.
Yeah, they just need to show those guys a DVD or YouTube that, and it might go a long ways. And it was nice tonight to see Rick Adelman in the crowd. And,
it was great. I love Rick Adelman. He was there. Obviously, his son is on staff with Denver, but Rick Adelman, right where he belongs at Moda Center, one of my favorite coaches of all time, and a heck of a guy, and did a great job here in Portland, Sacramento, and elsewhere. He's terrific.
Some of the best memories beyond the 77 championship, which I was lucky enough to see. I was 12.
He's great.
So I was part of that. I was very lucky. And the 90, 91, 92, that time was great too. And, you almost hit on all the points I was thinking of tonight. So, Joker, yeah. I was thinking during the time off about, who plays like that. Nobody else now except maybe Domantas Sabonis. Those are the only two guys that are getting double-doubles, and Joker's getting triple-doubles every night like it's nothing. And tonight watching him too, he just had that look in his eye too. Like once he gets on the court, he's the nicest guy, but once he gets on the court, it's all business. And you got to appreciate that.
Well, Sean, you've been watching basketball a long time too. Am I wrong? Like I've never seen someone do it like he does it. He's a unique.
No. That's what I was thinking. I was even trying to think back, and I was thinking of players. Well, there's other guys that maybe were not the same size, but who that size did that? I mean,
it would probably be Arvydas Sabonis, but unfortunately, we didn't get Arvydas in Portland until later in his career when he was still good, but not as mobile.
Was not the same player. I do remember seeing him in the Olympics, and he basically handed David Robinson his head.
Yeah.
He was incredible.
So that's probably your best comp. Arvydas is probably the best comp.
Oh, yeah. Domantas has a different kind of a game. He's not really drifted out to the three-point line, which Arvydas kind of did once he, wasn't as mobile. But those two guys, there's nobody else like him and Joker in the NBA, and I can't think of a lot of big men that were like that back in the day. I was racking my brain trying to think about it. So I thought, but then you brought it up, so you beat me to the point.
Well, I appreciate
I'm going to go back and play my guitar, Chad.
Oh, get after it.
The guitar. Hey, man, I've been listening to Eagles lately. I just listened to Gary Newman.
Nice.
Horrors. I don't know if you remember that song, and I was trying to figure it out.
Classic.
That's a kind of a cool.
No, it's an 80s
song.
classic. Gary Newman is great.
So I'll get a hold of you one of these days. Hopefully we can just talk off the air, and we'll set you up with a jam session. Get you playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
It, man. I know you love music. So
that's the best.
Have a good night, Chad. I love you, man.
You're the best, man. Love you, Sean. There's Sean in Damascus. Yeah, that's probably the comp. I didn't think of the name earlier, but Arvydas Sabonis. I was so excited when Arvydas finally came to Portland. I had a chance to go see him at Moda Center right after it had just opened. And I'm watching Arvydas. I'm like, what in the world's going on here? I've never seen a big handle the rock like he did. And he had such big hands that he could hold the basketball like it was a grapefruit. But he had that same type of vision. Unfortunately, the Blazers didn't get Arvydas until later in his career. He was still good when he came, but it was later in his career, wasn't as mobile. But that's probably the best comp to what I'm seeing from Jokic. I've just never seen, outside of Arvydas, anyone do it the way Jokic does at that level. It's crazy. Let's go back out to the phones. This guy here is my new favorite. He is the East Coast representative of Rip City out in Buffalo. It's Joe in Buffalo. What's up, Joe? Welcome back.
What's up, brother? Thank you, sir. You're my new favorite as well. So I figured I'd stop ruining your show with my airtime with a little more organization and substance. So
no, first off, I got a question for you. I got to know because now you're jonesing for basketball. Yes. You're jonesing. So how was it dealing with the All-Star break and no basketball?
That was awful. That was actually pretty bad. Like, I'm not going to lie. And it was weird, too, because I got one of those 7-day free trial for the NBA Pass right at the beginning of it. So, like, it was the exact amount of days for the – I got to watch the All-Star game, which, everyone knows. Like, it was like a Quidditch score. Like, it was like 200 to 1. It was insane. But, I mean, so it was that was rough, man. And I like playing FanDuel. They kind of go hand in hand. Like, fantasy basketball is great. I never really knew how much I'd like it. And that's kind of what got me into basketball. And I couldn't do it. And then like I saw college basketball was a thing, but apparently it's not legal in my state. But they totally let me fill out a roster and everything. And then as soon as I went to submit, they're like, "Oh yeah, but you can't do that." And I'm just like, I need the NBA back, man. This is bad. Like, so even if you saw my physical appearance right now, I'm much paler than the average Buffalonian. It was just, I'm glad it's back. So it's good. It's good to be back. It's good to be back on the airwaves with you. How was your All-Star break?
It was great because I was able to get some normal rest, which is unusual during the course of the basketball season. So I feel like my battery is recharged and I'm ready for the stretch run. But, dude, I was so bummed out because we got word after practice yesterday that Scoot wasn't going to play today. And, dude, my number one reason for watching this team right now is to watch Scoot Henderson in his development. So that was a bummer.
I was listening to the drive, and I heard it in your voice, man. You were really – you didn't just report his injury. You were bummed. I felt awful for you. I was like, oh, man. Like, because that is terrible, man. And I'm not, like, trying to laugh, but, like, I heard it sincerely in your voice. Like, because as a broadcaster, you're supposed to have some sort of, like, unbiasedness to – you're supposed to kind of just report it and then, like, you know, but give your local. So, you know, but you – you were just crushed, man. I felt terrible for you. And it's just a terrible thing. It's like, come on. We're trying to develop these guys, and – as a part of one of the things I brought with me, this is a team to do it against. This is the ultimate scout opponent. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to put them up against anyone better. So this is how you get them to play their best and to actually get a good, like, core sample of what they're capable of at this stage in their career. But we got to see Chris Murray and you know, like, and you mentioned what's it, Ben? I called him on his. I liked him just from his previous like scouting reports. Felt he was a little under the radar, and he's finding a way, like you said, to get to the free throw line. He's dropping a 3 or 2 every night. He's aggressive. Like you covered a lot of good stuff in the beginning. Like the previous caller, you touched on a lot of points. I'm not gonna be that guy and be like, you can have my segments, bro. But like you kind of did. Rain on some of our parades, I bet. But I brought bits with me this time. I wanted to be organized. I didn't want to keep just blabbering on your show. You know what I mean? So I brought bits, man. We're bringing it back to hack radio, all right? Hacky, a little hacky, but we need it, all right? So it's going to be money, I promise. So the first thing, it's called the Blaze By bit. So I just blaze by you with like a comment, and it could be rhetorical, whether how you gauge it or not. So I'm just going to come out and say it. I kind of already said it. So here's a Blaze By bit with they were utilizing the opportunity, even being down by such a margin, to run actual plays with different rotations against the best scout team you could really ask for. They were actually running plays in the third and the fourth. You saw them like being patient and getting the young guys acclimated to the playbook and such. So that's my Blaze By it bit. I don't know if you got anything there, but that's okay because it's just a Blaze By it. There's more. So, and then I got the second bit, which is going to be like the main thing. It's called What Joe Noticed with Blazer-like Focus. Blazer-like Focus.
What did Joe notice? What did Joe notice tonight?
This one's actually, as Joe noticed, he still needs to learn a lot. So this one should be like what Joe needs to know. My subject is Chauncey Billups, our coach. Now, I got to know how the fan base feels about him. Like, overall, like, does everybody – I like him. I think he commands respect. I think he's a perfect guy for a young team. I looked up his resume, though. He has a 17-year playing career of five-time All-Star. Every level he played at. 3-time Mr. Colorado. They retired his number at the University of Colorado. They retired it in Detroit. But he only coached for 1 year as an assistant, but it was like the most epic year for the Clippers at that time. Did they just pick apart that whole coaching staff, like rebuild teams? Did they go in there like how some football teams do and be like, okay, well, that team went far. We're rebuilding. Maybe they know a thing. Maybe we can get them to give us a chunk of that head coach's playbook, or they know what it takes to win.
Well, I think what happened is that the Trailblazers' previous general manager, Neil Olshey, he used to work in L.A. with the Clippers, and and that's where he got his start. And so he developed a lot of relationships, and one of the guys he became close with was Chauncey Billups. And so when he had the opportunity after Terry Stotts was let go to fill the coaching job, he had his eyes on Chauncey Billups, and that was a decision he made. And then Olshey was let go after Billups was hired. So, Billups over the last almost 2 years has been working with Joe Cronin. So, that's kind of how it came to be. And I think we've seen this before with ex-players, whether it be Steve Nash or Steve Kerr or even Chauncey Billups. If you were a great player, a lot of times you can bypass a lot of the ground cover work that some of these other assistants do as they're grinding and working and trying to bide their time until they get a chance to be a head coach.
That makes sense. And how did you guys feel in 2020, 21 when he came in? Were you guys like, yes, this is our guy? Were you skeptical? How was it? Was it optimistic?
Well, I was excited about Billups because I'm a big fan. There were some fans who were concerned about, some indiscretions in the past with him when he was much younger. I think a lot of people were just curious about the inexperience as a head coach, but I think he was brought in at the time because of a defensive player, a defensive mind to come in and help the smaller backcourt at the time of, with Dame, to be able to help them become a better defensive team. But the problem is that Olshey was let go, Cronin took over, and they've gone young. So I don't think the situation is exactly what Billups thought it would be when he took the job as head coach, meaning he thought he was going to be coaching a veteran team with Dame, and now he's part of a rebuild. So it's a totally different, set of circumstances. I think with Billups, I still want more time to be able to know what type of head coach he is, but I do like the job he's done with developing the young players. And most importantly is he's got a good connection with Scoot, and I think he might be the right guy to really help Scoot along, which is, to me, the most important thing. So more time will tell, but so far I don't have an issue with Billups. There are a lot of fans who do. I don't, and I think he's got a chance to become, a very good head coach.
Absolutely. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense then, because I looked up their average age that year, and I was like, maybe they were a young team, and they wanted someone. They were like 28.3 was their age, so that's not that young, really. That's kind of like mid-level age. That's a pretty knowledgeable team. It's a pretty experienced team. Unlike ours, where our best player, which brings me to my next. I don't know if he's our best player, but I think he's going to be very soon. My next bit, I'm gonna wrap him up here. This is called the Trail Cam. What I saw on the Trailblazer cameras, dude, Ayton is just a freak center. You were mentioning Jokic. I know you can't compare to that, but so I looked up previous scouting reports on Ayton, and people didn't like him. Like, when he came in the league, he just wasn't defensive enough. He just kind of – you didn't know how he felt. He just doesn't seem like – and I was like, oh, he's 25 years old. He's getting into that prime age where, like, are you a leader? What are you? Especially in this rebuild that we're in. What is he going to be? I think he's just going to be that piece that needs us to be consistent. And because now he's not only getting double digits in points, and he's snagging rebounds like magnetic. And I have been into basketball for a very short time. I get that, but I don't recall seeing Ayton play this good last year. I didn't see his name as much as I'm feeling like I do now. Obviously, I'm getting a closer look with the trail cam, but I think given the team's state, it's kind of tough for him to be consistent. I don't think he wants to be a leader. That's what Grant's in there for. We covered that, I think, last week. And he is a good leader. I've been watching that, how he's the one talking to the refs. He puts his arm around him. He's a real charming dude. So Grant's got that covered. Ayton I think he needs to focus on himself, and the team will get better around him. He's that type of guy who leads by example. And I think he's going to be a real threat to the opposition on both sides of the ball, where I saw earlier in his career, people weren't thinking that. They just thought he was an offensive-minded cat. But I don't know. I think he's a pretty well defensive built center. And I didn't know he was that young. I don't know if this is just me, but if a center isn't a rookie, I just automatically assume they're like 30.
Yeah.
And I looked up his age. I was like, he's only 25 years old.
Yeah.
This guy's getting good. The one year was he injured? He only played like 50 games, and he still almost got 1,000 points. I mean, that's not a bad player. Like, so I don't know what your thoughts are on Ayton. You like who we got as a center? Like,
oh yeah, no. Let me share some thoughts. Nice work, Joe. Joe in Buffalo, representative of Rip City out on the East Coast. Great work. Well, with Ayton, I'm a big fan, and I want him to work out. The Blazers need him to work out. They got him as a number 1 pick. So it's hard to find guys at that size with that type of talent and skill set. I was talking with Felix Cruz, who was a Suns insider earlier this week, so he knows Ayton really well. And like he pointed out, there aren't too many guys on planet Earth, as he put it, that can do the different things that Ayton can do. The key for him is to remain engaged. And over the last few weeks, we've seen him engaged. It's been a great stretch of basketball for him. Things soured towards the end in Phoenix with the coaching staff, and this is a fresh start for him. Now, the key is engagement. You know, he's had some issues in terms of remaining engaged. I do know his teammates love him, and it's just a matter of him continuing to work hard. Because when he does, we see what he can bring. And it would be great if he could develop into, with that engagement, you know, the starting center moving into the foreseeable future for the Trailblazers, because he's unique with his size and his ability to move. And over the last few weeks, he's been engaged and he's been very productive, and they need that from him. All right, let's go out to Victor in Turkey. Victor, welcome to the fifth quarter. What's on your mind?
Oh, thanks, bro. I try to make it short for your time. You know, I would say that it's about the business. I would say business win, the Blazers don't win. The reason is, you know, America is a business-oriented. You know, we know that. And I have to tell you, I have a American citizenship. I have a dual citizenship. The later one is American citizenship, and I'm proud of it. And I tell you something, my brother, I don't like any foreign players, including the Turkey, well, except the soccer. Soccer, because my field is different. But if the Turkish basketball playing with America, I support America. The reason is because I went to college to, you know, Portland. I lived a long time, and I got married in America. So, you know what I'm saying? So I have a citizenship.
Do you identify, hey, Victor, do you identify as being Turkish or American?
Believe me, I am, well, I changed my name. I tell you something. So my real name was a Turkish name, but I changed it to Victor.
What was your Turkish name? How do you pronounce your Turkish name?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
It's kind of funny. but what I'm saying is, Turkish name was very funny. But anyways, yeah, you know, when I was in Europe, you know, traveling, I identified myself. I go with the American passport.
Yeah.
Because you know, is accepted all over the world. The Turkish passport, no. But anyways, what I'm saying is, maybe you think I hate. Maybe I have so much hatred, but believe me, I don't like Jokic. I don't like him. I mean, when he plays, usually I don't watch it. But when he was playing the Blazers, I watch it. And I tell you, when I was in Serbia, all of these, you know, Jokic and the other guys, you know, played in Portland. They are from Serbia. Now, the Serbia, they have a lot of good players, you know, these two players and all of that. But when I was in Serbia, when I was going shopping and I pull up a $10 bill, and went around, everybody was shocked. Everybody looking at $10 bill in Serbia. So what I'm saying, my brother, they have this. I salute, and I'm proud I'm American. I don't know about Jokic and other guys, but they own their life. They own believe me, all their love to America. Believe me, because the Serbia, I don't want to insult Serbia, but they were torn up in the 1980s, the war in Serbia and Herzegovina and all of that, and, you know, Yusuf Nurkic too. The country is torn up, and they have no economy. What I'm saying is, when they come to America, these are all incentive. If Nurkic was in Serbia, instead of playing good, and they are not going to play. They're going to every year they come here and they are playing with all these good players, American players, and their players getting good. They're playing better, and also not only that, the incentive, the money is just off the chart. So what I'm saying, they have to thank America, you know. But what I'm saying, I don't know if they thank or not, but I do my own. And that's maybe you don't know about this story, but that's the truth. But what I'm saying is, I don't like any foreign players. I like American players. I don't like none of them actually. I like American players, and I like a homegrown American players. I like Anthony Simon or Jeremy Grant and so on and so forth. Even I don't like. I don't really support the Aiden. Even as a good player, I don't support because I don't know. Maybe I'm so prejudiced to be American. I'm more than American. I don't know. But I'm that kind of a guy. When I live in a place for extended time and get a citizenship, I am loyal to that country. I'm a different guy. I'm loyal to that country. Even I didn't make too much money, but I'm loyal to Americans and to America, and that's my belief. But I tell you about the Blazer. I think they have to make big changes, to make it better team. With this squad, as you said, it's going to take maybe many years to be a really good team. But I hope Joe Corona make a big move to make it something like we can see like at least 50-50, maybe 50 loss and 50 win. What do you think about that? How they're going to win 50 games maybe next year? Maybe you're hoping on that. But with this statistic they have this year, is not really exciting, to watch them.
No, I understand. Yeah, it's tough right now. They're 15 wins on the season, but the good news is, Victor, is that the Blazers have an opportunity this summer to make some drastic changes because they have flexibility with their cap. They've got multiple veterans that could potentially be moved, and they also have draft capital. So they've got all the tools that you need to go out there and make something happen. The first thing they've got to decide is what they're going to do with the three guards, Ant, Scoot, and Shaden Sharp. And then from there, Joe Cronin and his staff can come up with a plan, and there'll be an opportunity out there to improve the roster. What they need more than anything, based on my own eyes and the people I've spoken with, is they need to go out and find a true small forward or a true power forward and have them play next to Jeremy Grant. They need more balance on the roster, but most importantly right now, just hopefully Scoot can get on the floor and play the remainder of the season, 27 games, and be able to continue his development. And I also appreciate the fact you're a loyal guy, Victor. Nothing wrong with that. The world could use a little more loyalty. Victor is a loyal guy. If he gets citizenship in your country, he is going to support your people. All right, we'll come back and we'll step into the coach's corner and hear from Chauncey Billups following the Blazers' 127-112 loss. Portland's back at it again on Sunday. I'll have game day at 3:30. Tip-off against the Hornets will be at 6. Big thanks to Victor for calling in, Sean in Damascus, and my man Joe in Buffalo. You got the fifth quarter on 620 Rip City Radio. All right, the Nuggets over the Trailblazers tonight by a final score of 127-112. First game post All-Star break. The Blazers will be back in action on Sunday. Tip-off at 6 from Moda against the Charlotte Hornets. All have game day at 3:30. Let's check in with Blazers coach Chauncey Billups after the loss.
Yeah. There's certain players in the league, that it don't matter what coverage you play. They're just too good. And they figure you out. There's not a coverage he has never seen. But you can put 2 on him if you want. You're giving up a 3, or you're giving up a lob, or you're giving up a layup to another player. So, you go into the game saying we're going to try several things. There's a good chance that none of them work, right? It just is what it is. But we want to play fast. We want to run it down. We want to make them work on the other end. And you got to hope that you can play fast enough and create shots and make shots, because you got to be able to shoot it out with teams like that. And if you can't, chances are you're gonna lose the game.
In the game, how do you balance those changes? Like what's kind of the process you go, okay, you've got your coverages and the things you're going through, and then balance that with your guys, like trying to keep them up or keep them engaged when he's not missing a shot?
A lot of things go into it, foul trouble, for one, goes into it. We start off the game not going on him, just kind of digging it. Now, if DA picks up a quick foul, boom, we got to go. Who's playing? Who's on their team? Who's in their rotation? Do they have their starters in there with all the knockdown shooters, or do they got a couple other players that you can kind of check their temperature that night? If they do, boom, maybe you start being a little more aggressive. So there's just so many different things that go into it, those decisions in real time, as the game is actually going on. But yeah, that dude is he's a 2-time MVP for a reason. He's one of the best we ever gonna see playing this game, doing what he does. So I don't like going to these games saying like, man, if we don't hold Joker down, we got no chance. I can't do that. That'd be really kind of unrealistic, to be honest with you. So for the most part, I thought we played pretty good. That team is better than we are, and they're world champions. And I look here, we shoot 100 shots in the game, We made some threes in the second half, which was good, but the team is just better, man.
How do you think Chris looked in his time with the starting unit?
Yeah, I thought he was okay. He did what Chris does. He has some rebounds in there. He does a pretty good job in closeout situations, catching and going and catching, things like that. It was a Chris Murray game. I thought he played good.
Have you had a conversation with him about being more aggressive? It seemed like in this role he looked for a shot maybe more than he has when he's come in recently.
Yeah, well, when I talked to him earlier today, when I told him I was going to start him, I just told him, I said, Chris, just play your game, man. Play your game, be aggressive. The ball's probably going to find you. And just attack and be ready to go. No matter what happens. Whether you missing, making, don't even matter. Don't change how you play. Just keep playing aggressive and have fun, And I thought he did play aggressive in the game today.
When you're playing as big as you kind of were with the starting lineup, with Ant being the smallest guy there, all the wings and DA, it seemed like you guys were flooding on the offensive glass a lot. Stylistically, if you can play that big, is that kind of the idea of what you want to do, is attack the offensive glass like that regularly?
I would love to. Especially, I think, for a team like ours, who a lot of times we're playing young out there, if we can't have that type of size, we struggle to score, and we don't have the best shooting team in the NBA, so we need to find other ways to get baskets. And I think going to the offensive glass is one of them. It's been a pretty good weapon for us.
All right, there's Coach Billups after the Blazers 127-112 loss. I love what he said there, where it's like, hey, there are some guys in the league, no matter what coverage you throw at them, and going into the game you're going to mix it up, sometimes this is not going to work. And that's the way Jokic is playing right now. He's too good. And Chauncey admitted the truth. That's just a better team right now on a different level than Portland. All right, we'll come back, and it's time for What's the Scoot here in the fifth quarter. Appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Friday evening. I certainly have enjoyed the weather over the last couple of days. A little hint of what's coming, springtime. All right, What's the Scoot's coming up next? 127 to 112, the final. Nuggets get the win. It's the fifth quarter here in your home of the Blazers, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, here's the latest on Scoot Henderson. We got word yesterday that he would miss the game tonight with an adductor strain. There's some thought that it may have been something he aggravated during his trip to Indianapolis for his participation in the All-Star Weekend with the Rising Stars Challenge. Chauncey Billups said yesterday at practice that he noticed that Scoot was laboring in practice, so he told him to go get checked out, and they decided to hold him out of the game tonight. So I don't think it's going to be a long-term deal. He could possibly play on Sunday. I certainly hope that he does. I just think that the rest of the way is critical for Scoot. Remember, and we talked about this on game day, but, basically the Blazers want to get a look at Scoot and Anthony together the rest of the way, with both those guys playing in different situations, on ball and off ball. They need to get a feel and an idea of what those two guys can do together. And for Scoot, he is playing his best basketball of the season right now. This recent stretch has been his best. He needs to be on the floor. He needs more time. He needs to continue that development, getting more confidence. He's really putting in the time individually working on his shot. I want him to finish out the year on a strong note and enter the offseason with confidence. So then his rookie season's under the belt. He can put in the time during the offseason, and by the time camp hits next year, he's ready to take off. He needs to cash in. The Blazers need him to hit big time. And so every game missed is it's unfortunate because he needs time on the floor. He needs to play and develop. So we'll see how things shake out. But again, my reason for optimism is his attitude, his demeanor, his work ethic. He's got all of the right pieces, the makeup to become great. And now it's just a matter of putting it together. But obviously availability is critical. He needs to be on the floor, and he and Ant need an opportunity to work together. It goes back to what we were talking about at the start of the broadcast. Lack of continuity has been the biggest downfall for this team throughout the year. Injuries, guys in and out of the lineup. They can't develop any continuity. Players don't have a true understanding of one another because they haven't played together that much. It's just hard to build anything of substance when you have different guys on the floor throughout the course of every game. So I'm hoping that Scoot can come back on Sunday, and that will start the pathway to a strong finish in the last 7.5 weeks of the NBA season. Now, before we go, I do want to take a listen to this. Rick Adelman, former Blazer great, coach, of course, spent time with the Blazers, spent time in Sacramento with Minnesota and with Houston. He was at the game tonight. His son David is on staff with the Denver Nuggets, and Rick joined the broadcast with Kevin and Lamar. Let's take a listen. The first question they asked him was about, managing egos, managing men and the egos in the NBA, and, how do you go about doing that? Here's what he had to say.
Well, I think you just have to understand who you have and their talents, and you have to put them in spots where they can succeed. If you do that, then they're going to listen to you, and they're going to try to do what you want. If you don't put them where they can succeed, it's going to be a problem.
Well, I just want to know how you got it out of that Terry Porter guy. I never thought that was going to work.
Yeah, well, he was a tough one, but no, in fact, he's here tonight. I saw a lot of guys tonight, so it's been a fun night. I usually don't come to the games, but I got a son coaching the other team. I hate to say that, but so I'm here to watch him too.
Speaking of that, I asked Michael Malone before the ball game tonight about the fact that he's got Ryan, your son, on the bench,
right,
and he's got Flip's son on the bench as well. Here's what he had to say. Listen to this comment from Coach Michael Malone.
I think it was last year during the finals, the NBA honored Rick Adelman, and being able to spend some time with him there and talk to him was a treat for myself. And obviously David has taken a lot of everything he's learned from his dad and tried to use it to forge his own career, and he definitely helps me a ton on a night in and night out basis. So congratulations to Coach Adelman.
Yeah, Rick, and I asked him, I said, do you still run some of Rick's stuff? He says, oh, absolutely.
Well, you know what? They got a number 15 on their chain. That works pretty good with that stuff.
Well, yeah, and in a historical context, Coach, talk about Jokic a little bit, if you would. I mean, he's like, I would say that he's unlike any other player we've seen come along. Would you?
No, he's special. I say he's he makes the game enjoyable for me to watch, and the way he plays and the way he conducts himself, I think it's just real tribute. I've never seen a guy pass the ball the way he passes the ball. I don't care if it's a guard, forward, or center. He's just unbelievable. And he makes the game look so easy. He just made a shot just now. That's not an easy shot. It is for him, but it's not for everybody else. So, you know, it's kind of the thing I like about what David tells me is he's a great teammate. He's also a great guy to coach. So that's makes it special.
Coach, along those lines, our very own coach, Chauncey Billups, he went on record saying he believes Nikola Jokic is the best passer the game has ever seen. So when you put on your coach's lens, you see the game through that, how would you defend against him? How would you go about game planning against this kind of talent that someone like you and Coach Billups is saying we haven't seen this kind of passer in the game?
Well, I don't know what you can do. You can try to limit the times he catches the ball, but he's going to hurt you either way because he's so smart. If you want to put a small guy on him, you want to switch, he's going to post you up. You know, so I just think he's impossible to guard. Just the way he plays. I don't know. I wish I had him, but I would have been a really good coach if I had him.
All right, there's Rick Adelman. Great to hear him and see him at the game. You know, Godfather says that Rick was a better coach than Dr. Jack. Rick Adelman's one of the best. And, you know, Chauncey was talking about Jokic, too, where it's like, if you double him, you're going to give up a three. And like Rick said, if you switch and put a smaller guy on him, you're in trouble. I don't know how you defend him, but his passing, I haven't seen that type of vision. He's Larry Birdish when it comes to the passing, the vision, the awareness, and what's going on around him. And maybe Arvydas is the proper compare. All right, that's going to do it for me tonight. Thank you for listening. Fifth quarter here on 620 Rip City Radio. Next broadcast will come up on Sunday. I'll be live at Moda Center with game day at 3:30. I'm going to tip off against the Hornets at 6, and then the fifth quarter following the game. So I hope you enjoy your Saturday. It's supposed to be good weather this weekend in the Northwest, which is going to be nice. Big thanks to Mike Oakes for running Master Control tonight. Your final score tonight from Moda Center, the Denver Nuggets topped the Portland Trailblazers 127-112. For Mike Oakes, I'm Chad Doing. Talk to you on Sunday.